Coming this fall from SJS Direct in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. You can pre-order your copy of The Man Crisis today on Amazon.com. This Sunday we had another mass shooting here in America. And this mass shooting took place in Jacksonville, Florida, where they were hosting a Madden 2019 tournament. And one of the players in this Madden 2019 tournament, David Katz, a professional gamer, decided he would take out a gun and decide to participate in a mass shooting after being eliminated from the tournament. Now, when it comes down to this David Katz behavior, it fits right in line with what I've been talking about in numerous videos regarding these beta males. Now, when it comes down to this beta male is a male who primarily has female social characteristics and female social traits. And when it comes down to the beta male, he gets those social characteristics and social traits because in most cases, he's either raised in a home with a single mother or he's raised in a home with a mother and a beta male father. And being raised in a home with a beta male father is just like being raised in a home with another woman. And when I look at this David Katz's face in pictures, he looks just like a beta male in terms of his body language and his facial expressions. And things people talked about this David Katz fit right in line with other mass shooters like your Adam Lanza and your Stephen Paddock, in that they aren't very social, they stay to themselves, and they are really intensely focused. And when it comes down to this David Katz, I believe that he fits the pattern and profile of many of these mass shooters I've talked about in numerous videos, and many of the character traits of your beta male. Because when it comes down to your beta male, they have a hard time dealing with things like failure, and they have a hard time dealing with things like losing. And it looked like your David Katz had a very hard time dealing with being eliminated from this Madden 2019 tournament, especially after winning the entire Madden 2019 tournament last year, because your David Katz won the entire 2019 Madden tournament last year, and I guess he was under a lot of pressure to try to win the tournament again this year. And after being eliminated, I think that was the motive for him to go out and participate in this mass shooting. And this is a big problem with many of these beta males. Many of these beta males, they have a hard time dealing with concepts like rejection, like failure, like losing. And because they cannot deal with these concepts of rejection, failure, and losing, they do not know how to navigate through their emotions. Now, men who have grown up with masculine fathers in the home and really strong mothers, they know how to deal with losing. Now, I've been a guy who played video games ever since he was 9 years old. And one of the things I learned early on is that you are going to lose when you first open up a game or when you first start playing a game. And losing is just par for the course with video games. I've lost video games at home on the Atari 5200 when I had it, the PlayStation when I had it, and when I had a Nintendo Entertainment System. I just learned how to suck it up and deal with it. And I've also lost video games when I would go to the arcades, like when I would go to Playland, like it was here in Manhattan back in the late 1980s. We had an arcade called Playland, and it was near Times Square. And I used to play video games when I would go on school trips, and back when I used to go to Park West High School. And again, part of playing video games is knowing that you're going to lose. And if you lose, it's cool and it's all right. It's not a problem. But when it comes down to these beta males, they have a hard time dealing with this concept, especially when they enter competitive arenas like professional gaming. When it comes down to the beta male and things like professional gaming, they're not there because they want to have fun. they're there primarily out of an addictive mindset. And this is another trait of the beta male, and I talk about this in my book, The Man Crisis, about addiction and this beta male. Because when it comes down to beta males and addiction, that's where they have a real serious problem. And it looks like this David Katz, who was going into the professional gaming arena, was expressing traits of an addictive personality. Because when it comes down to these people with addictive personalities, they don't know where the boundaries are. And because they don't know where the boundaries are, this is why they will go and participate in behaviors like your David Katz participated in, where he decided that since he lost, he was going to make sure that other people lost. And because he didn't know where the boundaries are, he decided to make people lose their lives because he lost the tournament and he lost a chance to win the big $25,000 prize in Las Vegas. Because he couldn't go to Vegas and play in the Madden tournament, he wanted to make sure others couldn't go to this Madden tournament and play in that final game. And that, again, that's all par for the course as it relates to this beta male. Because this beta male, the big problem with him is that he, again, is not raised with discipline, he is not raised with character, he is not raised with a resolve. And because he is not raised with these intangibles of manhood, this is why this male winds up participating in these acts of violence. They cannot deal with this thing we call life. They can't navigate through their emotions, and they cannot deal with the fact that in life you're just going to lose sometimes, and you're not supposed to go to a gaming tournament to think about just winning all the time. You have to come in knowing you can win and knowing you can lose. Because I've watched many golf videos where guys go to these gaming tournaments and they're not really thinking about winning or advancing. They're thinking about just having fun and hanging out with their friends and meeting new people and enjoying the gaming experience. But again, when it comes down to the beta male and his addictive personality, he becomes obsessed with going out here to win. And that's what makes beta males extremely dangerous, is that when they enter that addictive stage, it's almost like they're in a trance and they're not even thinking about anything but what they want. And when they can't get what they want, that's when these guys lose it, and that's when they explode in that rage, and that's when they want to go out here and make sure others lose because they have lost. They have a very selfish way of thinking, and they don't think about anybody else because they have tunnel vision. They want to hurt others because they're hurt and because they can't process the fact that, this is just a part of life. They want to take other people's lives. And what's really scary about all of these beta males like your David Katz is that this is not just an isolated incident. There are literally hundreds of millions of David Katzes out there due to the way we have been raising boys over the last 50 years. And your David Katz is just another one of the landmines that is out there. And sadly, he exploded and cost 2 men their lives and cost many others their health when they were injured in this mass shooting. And that's what's scary about these beta males, is that no one knows when they will go off, what damage they will do to society, or where they will go off, or what will happen when they go off. They could, because there's a spectrum to their violent behaviors, and it can go from a screaming fit to this guy punching out somebody to literally doing something like your David Katz did and participating in a mass shooting and suicide, all because he lost a video game tournament and couldn't deal with the fact that he was eliminated from this gaming tournament. And that's really what's really scary about these beta males, again, is that no one knows when they will go off, where they will go off, what they will do when they go off, or what damage they will do to others when they go off. And these beta males, again, they are littered like landmines all across this country. And again, all it takes is for one person or one thing to go wrong, and everybody suffers as a result. And what's really, again, sad about this incident is that this is not an isolated incident. This is another incident that fits within a growing trend and a pattern and a profile for these mass shooters. And every one of these mass shooters, their behavior fits within a pattern. And most people aren't really thinking about the pattern as related to their behavior because they're so shocked by what has happened. But as I take a critical look at all of these events, I clearly correlate it with a pattern as related to the way we have been raising boys ever since the days of the feminist movement. And after the days of the feminist movement, we have socially engineered this beta male. A male everybody thought would be better than his father, but this male seems like everywhere he goes, he seems to short circuit, he seems to malfunction, and he falls completely apart. And instead of him being a functional male, he has turned into a dysfunctional male, and people have to suffer because this dysfunctional male does not know how to deal with things like his father and his grandfather knew how to deal with, like rejection, like failure, like loss, and they don't know how to get up and dust themselves off and move on. Because these guys don't know how to do these basic things that men have been doing ever since the dawn of time, these beta males, they cause nothing but terror. They bring nothing but terror and havoc wherever they go, because these men just do not know how to be a man, nor do they understand the basic life skills of a man, because there usually was no man to teach them how to deal with things like losing a video game. And that's what's really another sad thing about this David Katz, is here we have a grown man who does not understand something I learned when I was 9 years old, and something I learned how to just brush off at 9 years old. Losing a video game is not a reason to take someone's life, and it really shows how little character and little resolve this young man had learned over the years. Because, again, this is something I learned way back in the early 1980s, in the early days of video games, and it's something that I learned to deal with all throughout my life. And sadly, a lot of guys are not learning these basic life lessons. They're not learning these basic life skills. And because they're not learning these basic life lessons and these basic life skills, this is why we're seeing more and more of these men participating in these violent behaviors, and these men winding up in what I call the man crisis. Because this man crisis is due to the fact that these boys have not been raised in a way that teaches them how to be men and how to navigate the world as men. And because they do not know how to navigate the world as men, because they did not get proper male life skills, this is why we see more and more of these men participating in things like these mass shootings over petty things like a video game tournament. I could care less about how much money was at stake or whatever pressure was on this man. This was all about him not having the intangibles of manhood, and he didn't get those intangibles of manhood because he was not raised properly in how to navigate through his emotions and how to deal with competition in a sportsman-like manner. And that's the great irony of this. They were playing this Madden football game in a video game, playing a simulated version of football, but this David Katz did not understand the whole concept of sportsman-like conduct. A sportsman understands that there's a winner, that there's a loser, and that being a part of a competition, you have to be, just like you have to be a good winner and not gloat, you have to be a good loser and suck it up and take responsibility for your loss, and then you have to learn from your loss and move on. It seems like your David Katz knew how to win, which is what most beta males like. Usually they know how to win, but they just don't know how to lose. And they don't know how to deal with losing because no one teaches them that that's all part of competition. And I look at this David Katz and I see another beta male participating in another mass shooting, and I see another incident that clearly fits within the pattern I've talked about related to these mass shootings. And it's a pattern I talk about extensively in my book, The Man Crisis, that's coming this fall. And it's sad to see that, this pattern is, again, continuing to get worse, because I said it would get worse because, again, we have these landmines littered all across the country due to the way boys have been raised in this country. And we're going to see, again, sadly, more incidents like this in the future. And we're going to continue seeing these incidents until Americans start talking about this man crisis and start making efforts to really deal with this man crisis. Because we have a crisis in this country as related to boys and the way boys are raised. And that crisis is coming because we are not raising boys to become the kind of men who know male life skills, or learn male life skills, or learn how to navigate the world the way a man should navigate it. Because if this David Katz had been raised in the way to know how to navigate the world as a man would, he would not be thinking about taking out a gun after losing a tournament. He would have just gone and got himself some pizza or something and go hang out with his friends, like many of the goths I see who go to these gaming tournaments and make videos about it. They don't take it personally, and they don't want to hurt other people. They want to encourage other people to go out and have fun and encourage them to win, because they know that part of being a good sportsman is understanding that even if you lost, you need to be able to cheer on others as they win. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to pre-order my upcoming ebook and paperback, The Man Crisis, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. The Kindle version is available for pre-order right now, and the paperback will be coming this October. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.